Hey gang, Mark Sweeney here from Austin Dental Spa in beautiful Austin, Texas. What the heck am I holding these things here for? Well, if you tuned in last week, you already know the answer to that. It's Jumpstart January, and so my prop is jumper cables for the rest of the month, and we will segue nicely into our scientific portion today. As you know, if you've tuned in before, we always do pretty much the same format. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to Wisdom Wednesday and Jumpstart January. And we usually search the medical and dental literature out there for something that might be of interest and helpful and of value to you in your day-to-day life. And today is no different. Actually, it's a study from the United States for a change. A lot of times they're from the UK or somewhere over in Europe, or Japan is very prolific with their scientific research. But today we're keeping it right here in the good old United States. So let's jump right in. That's Jumpstart January's description, and we're going to talk about a study that just came out of the University of California at Berkeley. California's been in the news a lot, unfortunately, on the negative side with all the wildfires there that are burning up half of Los Angeles, but Berkeley is untouched thus far. Now, this study, quite interesting because the researchers were studying what does it take to increase your alertness in the mornings, you know, your ability to ramp up and get things going quickly. That's how they defined alertness. And I always look for these studies that have a fairly good section of subjects. And we went all the way down last year to one study that had one person in it. A lot of them have a couple of dozen people. This one, by contrast, had 833 people in the study. And the study only lasted 2 weeks. But I think you're going to find with the scientific information that was concluded from this that it might apply directly to you starting as early as tomorrow. So they studied these people for a 2-week period. And what they did is they put monitors on them to monitor their physical activity, their sleep quantity and quality, and how long they slept, and the regularity of their sleep. So they were studying a lot of different things: physical activity, sleeping, and eating. And they gave them a variety of breakfast meals, some with sugar, some without, some with a lot of protein, some with complex carbohydrates. So they gave them varied diets. They had the people keep diaries of their food intake so that they knew how much and when they ate. They recorded their alertness levels from the moment they woke up throughout the day for this 2-week period. And this was a really interesting kicker. They included intentionally in this study of 833 people fraternal and identical twins, which I don't recall ever seeing a study that did something like that when they weren't really studying the twins. And I'll get to the reason why they did that in a second. Some of you scientific people probably already know the answer to that. So they found there were 3 key factors, to alertness levels, especially in the mornings. Exercise. I know you hate to hear me say that anytime we're talking about how to live a healthier life. Exercise, sleep. Those 2 are always in anything we talk about on Wisdom Wednesdays about leading a healthier lifestyle. But this one had a 3rd one that's a little bit of a kicker: breakfast. So how do these 3 things interact? And what's the relative importance of each one? Well, they found that people who exercised strenuously one day slept better that night than people who had not exercised. So that's where they brought exercise in. They said if you exercise to a point where it's what you would consider strenuous, where you're sweating for a prolonged period of time, you're going to sleep better that night, by and large. Now, by sleep, they meant 8 to 9 hours. The typical number we hear is 7 to 8 hours that the people that study sleep for a living say that that's the minimum you should get. These guys said 8 to 9, and they also said the people who got up later in the mornings instead of the early risers actually woke up more alert, even if both groups got 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Another reason to sleep in on the weekends. And finally, they said eating breakfast, and not only eating breakfast, but what you eat, was another important factor. Now, they found that all three of these factors played parts separately, but if you got the combination correct among those three things, that the people who ate breakfast, and as I said earlier, ate nutritious breakfast that was mostly complex carbohydrates, not high in protein, but complex carbohydrates, and we'll get to that in my health tip, it was essential to waking up alertly and effectively. They found that going back to the twins, that genetics only played about a 25% part in it. So the twins that ate better breakfasts and got better sleep did better than the identical twin who got sugar for breakfast and did not get as much sleep. Interesting wrinkle to this study that they brought genetics into it that way. They found that each of the three factors, exercise, sleep, and breakfast, had unique and independent effect, but that if you combined all three, you're much more likely to be alert earlier and for a longer duration during the day. So that's an easy segue into my health tip, which I always end Wisdom Wednesdays with. The health tip, we're going to talk about breakfast. What is a quick and easy way to get complex carbohydrates into your system with minimal to no sugar? Because the researchers did find that the higher the sugar, and we're talking about table sugar or sucrose, the stuff that makes your blood glucose levels spike and your insulin go up, that is like the worst thing you could do first thing in the morning, is have a chocolate covered donut. So unless it's one of those doctored up ones that the vegan places do that looks and tastes like chocolate, but it isn't really chocolate. They found that the most effective meal for complex carbohydrates was oats. Now, how do you get oats? Well, the simple answer is oatmeal. They have instant oatmeal now that you boil some water in a microwave for a minute, dump the oats dried out of the packet into there, stir it around a little bit, poof, you've got oatmeal in less than 2 minutes from start to finish. They also found that people had overnight oats. I'm not sure what cool overnight oats is, but some of you out there must know. If you know, put it in the comments down below for the other people that are listening in. And then, of course, we've got the ubiquitous energy bars. Look for the ones that have oats in them, and even better, if they have nuts and grains in there, you're hitting all three sources of complex carbohydrates that take a while for your digestive juices to break down, and they don't cause huge spikes and then huge drops in your insulin levels and in your blood glucose levels. So the quick and easy one to do is buy the store-bought oat bars in the breakfast section. Keep some in the glove compartment of your car because they don't go bad, or keep them at home and eat that on your way to work. Doesn't get much more simple than that. So I hope this has been great information for you to jumpstart your January, and we will see you next week for another episode of Wisdom Wednesday.